to Parents Canada Talk Radio on News Talk Saga 960. You're here with Lisa Durante and my co-host,
Jason Thompson.
And so today we are talking about sleep. It's something that everybody wants more of. But before we get to that, Jason, how are things going this week in parenting?
This week in parenting. Isn't this the biggest week? It's like the Super Bowl of parenting this week,
I think
right?
for you it is, yeah.
I've got birthdays. I've got graduations. I've got so much stuff going on. It always seems to be that last week of the year. And I have, many of my kids have birthdays the last week of December. So those are it. Those are the two big weeks that I've got throughout the year. But this year's been kind of special, right? Because my kids, we had, last Friday was the dog's birthday. Last Saturday was recital day. Monday was first grad. Birthday, 18-year-old today. Happy birthday, boy. Tomorrow he graduates from high school. So much going on. But the thing about graduations are interesting and recital time, because I think I've spent so much time in recitals that I want to give parents the most, especially if it's the first time that you're experiencing a grad, I want to give parents the most important advice, because there are some things you really, really need to know about to make that moment comfortable. Here's the first one.
Okay.
Don't wear a suit. You look gorgeous when you show up in the suit, and you don't look gorgeous when you leave in the suit, because you're crammed into this little tiny area, and it's just getting warmer and warmer and warmer throughout the entire time. So don't wear a suit. And while you're at it, bring yourself a bottle of water or two, fill up a couple of jugs of water, make sure you got there, because you're going to be sitting there for, between 90 minutes, 2.5 hours. The one I went to on Monday night, I saw
2.5 hours?
Oh yeah, I've seen some of them, because if you got,
wow,
300 kids in a room, that sort of thing, that sometimes you got to go through those, particularly the university and the high school ones. But Monday, I actually sought out the vice principal to tell them that they did such a good job. The first thing that they did I really loved is, they parade the kids through at the beginning, but they give them a quick little photo up on stage. That's 7 minutes, right? And then they head off, and then they come back up, and when they do the handshakes, 15 seconds, everything was tight, smart. The speeches were well written. It was all great. Here's a couple more pieces of advice that I've got. Where do you sit? Try for the end of the aisle. If you've got
always.
Kids, sit at the back, and I'll tell you why. One is kids are going to get fussy. I had an 8-year-old. She was great throughout the entire time, but you could see she was just done at some point. We were kind of stuck in the middle. I broke my own rule. The other thing, though, is that if you've got kids, you're sitting on the edge of the aisle, you can actually take off maybe out into the hallway. That helps an awful lot. And you don't get what happened happening so much, which is one row in front of me, there was a woman in her 60s, and there was a kid who was crying, 30 rows back, and she kept turning around and looking, and I'm thinking to myself, listen, you're 30 rows away. She can't see the laser beams shooting out of your eyes in anger because you're ruining that 1 5-second moment from that child. Look, it's going to be okay. We're all parents. Let's work. Let's get through this moment together. Sit on the end of the aisle. But here's the most important thing. This is the thing we don't talk about, because we think as parents, we should be cheerleaders for everybody, and we should be excited for all of the kids. And really, I am excited for your child graduating and that sort of stuff, but I am most engaged for the 4 minutes. The 1 minute that my child sang the national anthem, when she did the handshakes, and then at the end with the valedictorian address, I thought that was great, the valedictorian that they had this year. But, then I have an hour and a half of time to kind of spend. So here's what you do. Go out and buy a good camera, one that has a manual setting on it. Learn how to use that. And what you're going to find yourself doing is spending half of the event getting good at taking pictures. So you're going to be dialing in and trying different things out. So it keeps you engaged. It makes you a superhero, because you're actually going out and taking fantastic pictures of everybody who's around you and the friends of and then at the end, the pictures look great. So it's not really appropriate to spend a lot of time, kind of texting on your phone during these things. But if you use the camera and you're sitting at the end of the aisle, superhero. So those are my tips. That's how you get through grad week in a big way.
I think I'd add one more in that.
Good.
And for me, it would be to bring tissue, because I cry at everything. I love even seeing the other kids. And the last graduation I went to was kindergarten. And so I was just a ball of tears. And I loved every little kid who came up, because, especially because, there's a lot of play dates, and our neighborhood is pretty close. And so I just knew a lot of the parents and the kids, and just watching the parents. And so I was just bawling the whole time.
I think that's actually great advice. People actually bring me Kleenex now, particularly at recitals, because as soon as the first note of the piano goes, I'm done. I'm done.
I'm just in a ball of tears. Yeah. So now with once this week comes to an end, graduation's done, the kids are it's summer, and we do summer camp in our house. We're huge summer camp people. My kids love to be engaged and love to just be scheduled. And for me, to be honest, summer camp is just daycare for me. As a working mom, I just need someone to take care of my kids, and summer camp is just a great way, and they get to do so many fun things. There's so many camps. My camps growing up, I was usually either in a school basement or the church basement, and that was camp.
Yeah.
And my kids are doing circus camp and canoe camp, and I don't know what else they've got planned for the summer. But it just sounds like a whole lot of fun. How about you?
It's kind of interesting with the whole camp scenario. Is I tried to be reluctant to camps to say, well, I'll try and spend the time because I run my own business. Of course, that goes off the rails almost immediately. Day 4, and you're tearing your hair out because you didn't plan effectively. And I think you and I talked off air, and you said you were signing up for some of these camps last December, January. So
oh yeah,
the planning is really good. And I don't live in the city; I live north of the city, which gives me a little bit more flexibility in terms of getting to camps. But we don't have as many camps. We don't have the movie maker camps, and I love the Ontario Science Center camps, and the SPCA camps, like all that sort of stuff would be great. What we've got are some fantastic horse camps and that sort of thing. So we're definitely doing some of that. Probably weeks 2 and 3. Last night I was talking to my girlfriend, and she's like, "Should we put the little one in clay making camp?" And I rolled my eyes and I went, "More camps?" And of course she makes the great point, which is, okay, well then you hang out with her for an entire week. Not that I don't want to hang out with my own child, but I have deadlines like everybody else. Entertaining them and that sort of thing. That said, the kids are 8, 13, and I guess 18 today. So they have some ability to watch themselves. So we do stuff like food prep on Sundays so that there's snacks in the house that they can have, and they participate fully in these sorts of things. I redid my backyard a couple of years ago because I didn't want to claw my way up to 400 every week for the cottage. So we've got our own backyard cottage. We have a new dog. So I'm hopeful that we can balance all of these things. And of course, for us, the crown jewel, we have 3 crown jewels: Sound of Music Festival to begin the summer in Burlington, the CNE at the end. This will be, I think, my 60th visit to the CNE this year. And I have the body type that shows that I've eaten a lot of corn dogs over the years. And the other thing is the road trip. So we are planning a road trip right now. We pick atypical cities, places where they're interesting. So in the past, we've done Pittsburgh, we've done Nashville, which was amazing. Oh, cool. We've done Chicago, which is Chicago. So, but this year we're looking at a couple of other, I'll call them off-brand cities. But you can find some really interesting stuff, and the accommodations are a little bit more affordable, and you can do some really, really neat and cool stuff. So that's the summer. Like we got lots of things going on. We hope that you may have taken away some of the some really great, interesting insights into what the summer can look like for you. Are you taking any vacation?
Yeah, we will be taking some vacation. We're still in the planning on what that will be and what it'll look like for us. But yeah, definitely, we always try to carve time out because we do work so much. And, my father actually hates when I say this, that on a typical day, I only have about 3 hours with my children. The hour in the morning and then 2 hours in the evening. And so we do try to carve out some, substantial time to just hang with our kids and just be, and not have to rush them somewhere else, or, that they have to be somewhere else, or that we have to be doing anything in specific. So it's just so that we can just hang and be with ourselves and really catch up and learn about who we are at that time.
I'm curious to know why your dad doesn't like you saying that.
Because he wishes that we had more time, and he's my dad was, I always call him the original dad, in that I call him the OG dad, because he was, my mom is a hairdresser, and so as a kid she always worked weekends, and so he was the one who took care of us, and so he spent a lot of time with us. So it just hurts him that we're not getting that same experience that he had. You hear that a lot from kind of the previous generation, right? Because things are so hyper accelerated that we all wish we had more time. Yeah. You said another thing that was really interesting to me. Your mom was a hairdresser. Yes.
My mom was a hairdresser too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for like 30 years.
Oh yeah. No, she's still going. I think she's nearing 40 years. Yeah.
That's
amazing.
Does she run her own shop? Does she?
She now does. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I grew up in a hair salon. Yeah, it was one of my first jobs. I think I was like 5 or 6 sweeping the floors because I wanted to save up for a Cabbage Patch doll.
How'd that work out? Did you get your Cabbage Patch doll?
I did.
See, I can already, I'm already learning the parenting style. Time, effort and incentive,
Yes.
all that sort of stuff is a really great thing. I never got the chance to work in my mom's shop.
Oh, yeah.
I think she was smart to keep me away from things.
No, my older brother and I both got to. We loved it.
I love that. I love that so much. We're going to go to a break in a couple minutes. And in a few minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the one thing that I really, really came to Parents Canada to learn about. I love sleep. And I don't mean I love sleeping a lot.
Why not?
I don't know. I feel if I sleep too late, I feel groggy now. And
true.
of course, I'm almost 50 now, so you don't get the chance to sleep in the same way that you did once upon a time, like the 18-year-old who can sleep till 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really fascinated to be able to sit down and talk about sleep. And often as parents, when we talk about sleep in kind of one of two buckets, right? We talk about newborns. And then we talk about kind of in that teenage, how you turn off your devices and all that sort of stuff. We're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive, and that's the thing that I'm most excited about. I spend a lot of time at home kind of, generating kind of a sleep environment. We are going to talk with Alana McGinn, who is from the Good Night Sleep site. We want to hear from you. You can call us. We are available on the phone. That's an actual word right there. On the phone, as I was looking for the phone number, 416-640-0200. We are available on social media. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter, and that's @ParentsCanada. You can also visit us at parentscanada.com. Lots of great resources. We're going to share some with you about sleep in a little bit. You are listening to Parents Canada Talk Radio on News Talk Saga 960. Welcome back to Parents Canada Talk Radio. I am Jason Thompson. I am here with the superstar,
Lisa Durante.
You don't think you're a superstar? I've listened to you do pre-records over the last couple of days, and it's been fascinating to learn more about you. Because we're parents who didn't know each other before, and part of this thing is learning how to dance. And for me, we have, I would say, distinct parenting styles, and so I'm learning a whole bunch from you. Like I think you're actually converting me to camp, so I think that's a big way. And my partner Genevieve, I think, would be very happy to hear.
I think most moms want their kids in camp.
We should make T-shirts to say that. Most moms want their kids in camp. Most dads want their kids to sleep. Oh. And I'll tell you, I mentioned just before the break, I spend an awful lot of time on this. Like I regulate the temperature in the house because I've been told the temperature is a big thing. I actually personally use something called a bed jet, which is like this little fan that connects to a sheet. Everybody looks at me weird at this point, going, "What are you talking about?" It inflates the sheet so you're sleeping underneath a cloud. And as soon as I say that, everybody's like, "Oh." And I talk to a lot of friends who are going through menopause and things like that. And they're like, "This is genius. We should get one of these. You should get one of these," sort of thing. They're not a sponsor, but I think that would be wonderful. Sleep is so important. All right, we're going to get to our call right now. We have somebody here who wants to talk an awful lot about sleep. Alana McGinn is the creator of the Good Night Sleep Cleanse. She has 3 kids, and that makes her a superstar. But what makes her a superhero is 2 of them are twins, and that is, I can't even imagine how you actually deal with that when it comes to sleep. Alana, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hi, Alana.
Hi.
Now, your title is sleep consultant, so why don't we start there? Tell us what a sleep consultant is.
So we work with families, and Good Night Sleep Site works with babies to adults. So when we're working with our younger kids, with our babies and our toddlers, we're basically working with parents and putting sleep plans together. So, using different methods of sleep training and doing sleep training plans. And then the big part is putting the plan together, but the big part is the support. So then we're supporting the parents throughout the process, whether it be through a week or 2 weeks of support, and getting everyone sleeping well.
Oh, that's so important. Can you actually tell us why? We keep hearing that sleep is important. We feel it ourselves when we don't sleep well. Why is it important? And then what are some of the impacts of when we're not sleeping well?
So, so much research right now is being done on sleep. We still don't actually know, why we need to sleep and what actually happens when we sleep. We do know that what we do know what can happen is that our body repairs itself, it restores, it helps kind of prepare our brain to hold in new learnings and memories. It also cements everything that we've learned in and cements all the memories in. What can happen is when you're dealing with chronic sleep loss, you could be looking at long-term health risks, things like increased heart disease, strokes, diabetes, overall, how we feel overall day to day. We know what our kids are like when they haven't slept well. We know what we're like when we haven't slept well. So just quality of life as well.
Oh, wow.
It's, sleep is kind of, sometimes when we discuss it's very transactional, like I didn't sleep well last night.
Right.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about, what it takes to kind of, I guess I would put a culture of sleep, like to help kids understand and develop the sleep habits that are going to be required into adulthood. What kind of tips do you give?
Yeah, I mean, and that's important too, because we work with a lot of adults who have been struggling with sleep since they were kids, and it's really teaching an individual to be, our child to be that independent sleeper. So things like we work with 4 key sleep tools. So we're working with our younger kids, but this can also be applied to us, is working on a conducive environment. So you mentioned, the bed jet and sleeping in a cooler environment, and temperature is important. So we want to make the environment as conducive to sleep as possible. So making sure it's nice and dark, especially in the season that we're in now with brighter mornings and, brighter bedtimes, really darkening up the room, making sure the temperature is good, making sure that, if we have to drown out any kind of external sounds, if you have other kids running around or you live on a busier street, now birds are out really early, so incorporating sound machines and things like that. And then with our younger kids, we want to be focusing on naps. How they sleep during the day really does affect how they sleep at night. So sleep equals sleep. Any parent listening to this who's done their research on sleep has read that, and it's true. So really focusing on age-appropriate naps, age-appropriate bedtimes, good conducive bedtime routines, and that's across the board. That's with our babies, even with our tweens and teenagers, even with our adults, making sure we're having that nice, calming, and relaxing bedtime, and then working on the association side of it. So how your baby needs to fall asleep is how your baby will need to fall asleep when they wake up in the middle of the night. So if it's a feeding to sleep, if it's a rocking to sleep, if it's a bouncing to sleep, we want to work on creating those independent sleep skills where now child can fall asleep on their own.
Yeah, and the people that suffer the most with sleep are the new parents because babies, it's like 2-3 hours at least at the very, very beginning. What are some of the and one of the things that I was told always when I had my 2 was sleep when the baby sleeps, and I never could do that. So I was wondering, is that possible? Is that what you tell your clients? How can those new parents get better sleep?
Well, you know what I do? I always like to make sure that when I'm talking to parents in that 4th trimester, so that's at 0 to 4 months of age, there really isn't many things that you can work on in terms of sleep. You're going to lose out on sleep when baby's first born. I mean, that's just something that happens, right? You're going to be up, baby's going to need feeds throughout the night. They're not going to take those consolidated naps quite yet. We actually don't start working with babies until baby's about 4 months of age.
Really?
Because that's when their natural circadian rhythms start to develop, and we can start putting more of a routine together. So parents in that 4th trimester, take the pressure off. You're doing the reading, you're listening to experts like me, you're thinking you have to apply all these rules, and there really isn't anything that you're doing that can't be undone down the road if need be. So, yes, sleep when baby sleeps. I mean, it's so easy to say, but from a mom of 3, I always say my kids didn't come out of me good sleepers. I had to work at it too, and it was really hard to sleep when they were sleeping. There's actually a meme going around that shows, sleep when baby sleeps, and, it shows mom sleeping at the restaurant because baby's sleeping, or mom sleeping, driving in the car when baby's sleeping, because it's impossible for us to do that, right? So ask for help. I mean, if you have a village around you, reach out to them, and try and rest when you can, but it's normal to struggle with sleep in those first couple months. I mean, it's to be expected. So don't be too hard on yourself. Yeah,
that's a huge message. And I think we think the moment that baby comes out that they just have to, we have to train them.
Yeah, they have to sleep through the night, right? Because that's what we hear. But that's hard to do in that 4th trimester.
Yeah, I actually want to ask about that sleep through the night. That's something that always got me. It actually peed me off because what does sleep through the night actually mean? Because there are a lot of people who believe that it's that from 10 to 6 that a newborn will sleep, and that's just, at least in my experience, impossible. So What does sleep through the night actually mean?
So I define it in my own way. I mean, there's many definitions of sleep through the night in my industry. How I define it is, yes, you're right. You know, especially in that fourth trimester, really up to maybe 6 months of age, provided baby's healthy and thriving, we work on eliminating all feeds. So nutritionally, baby still needs those feeds in those first couple of months. But for me, sleeping through the night is having the ability to fall asleep independently on your own throughout the night. So, you know, we all wake up throughout the night. As you mentioned, we do, children do, babies do. We all cycle in and out of light and deep sleep. So technically, none of us sleep through the night. But because we have the ability and the skill to fall asleep on our own, fall back to sleep on our own when we cycle out of each sleep cycle, we don't realize how many times we wake up throughout the night because we just fall right back into that next cycle. So it's when our children are able to learn the skill of falling asleep independently into that next cycle of sleep, to me, that's sleeping through the night.
It's funny, the sleep cycle thing. I actually now use a pad under my bed, which actually tracks my sleep and gives me a sleep score. But I found it fascinating.
You are serious about sleep.
I really am serious about
sleep. I like it. You are.
I'm just hardcore because for me, I can't do all of the things that I can do. But it's there is something interesting that comes out of the pad, and it actually brings my next question, which is on nights, you know, for example, if I'm flying somewhere the next morning, or if I have a speaking engagement or something along those lines, I can see that my deep sleep, they divide the sleep into kind of light sleep, REM, and then the deep sleep, it stops around 3 o'clock in the morning. And it brings me to think about, you know, my kids. I have lots of friends who have trouble sleeping, and it's anxiety. Anxiety, you know, the brain starts to run throughout the night. I'm curious what kind of thoughts you have on, you know, we have an increasingly anxious society and how we deal with sleep in that culture.
For sure, and that's probably one of the biggest struggles that we see with kids and even with adults as well, is that anxiety and that constant, you know, that mind that just keeps churning. And you, as you mentioned, it's the nights before you have to travel. It's normally the nights before we have something big going on. So learning different techniques that can help kind of release some of that anxieties. I'm a big supporter of things like mindful breathing, different breathing exercises, and there's a lot of different exercises that can work. Studies show actually that just doing, for instance, I really like the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So, you know, breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and breathe out for 8. Doing that has been shown to immediately decrease heart rate, calm the body and mind down. So learning different techniques like that, and you can incorporate that with our kids and our adults as well. I also talk a lot about allowing us to have that personal pause during the day, because we're human. I can't tell you to not have worries and to not have stress and to not have anxieties, because it's a human thing. We're going to have them. But what tends to happen is we're so go during the day, we don't allow ourselves to have these thoughts, and the minute that we're in bed and there's no distractions around us, that's when all these thoughts flood in. So allow yourself opportunities throughout the day to have these thoughts and to let them flow in and flow out, and write down your to-do list and get all these thoughts kind of out of your head. Give yourself that brain dump, even right before you go to bed. Have a journal beside your bed so that you're not going to think about it when suddenly you're lying in a bed and everything's quiet around you.
So taking that time beforehand. I want to switch back to kids. You know, in a routine, you know, Jason is very serious about sleep, as you can tell, but I was pretty serious about sleep when my children were young. Initially, you know, that when they were first born, I was off, so I just slept, it just wasn't working for me. But then at a certain point, maybe it was 5-6 months, whenever it was, I really became stuck on routine. And I'm a pretty routine type of person. What are some best practices to creating a routine that works and gets kids to think about sleep and get ready for sleep?
Yeah, I mean, routine is important for many different reasons. I mean, especially with our toddlers and things like that, having them know what to expect kind of tends to eliminate some of those battles that we get, because they want the control. And when we give them that control, they like it. But when they don't know what's happening yet, because suddenly they're calling the shots, that's when we tend to see the misbehavior happening. So when there is that routine, whether it be that bedtime routine or just more of consistent sleep schedules and sleep patterns, our babies and our kids know what's happening next, so they tend to fall asleep a lot easier. We tend to also, you're able to focus a lot more on sleep when you have that routine in place and really protect the environment and protect their sleep, because you know what time they're going to bed at. So we do work a lot with routines with kids, but also again, coming up to adults as well, I think it's important that we all follow those consistent sleep patterns, because that's just going to help your body fall asleep a lot easier and get more restful sleep as well.
Okay, great. I want to ask one more question, and it's something, so it wasn't trendy when my children were first born, and they're 9 and 7 now, or maybe I just didn't hear about it, but co-sleeping seems to be a big thing. Can you, first off, tell me what that actually means, and then do you recommend it? How does that work?
So co-sleeping is both room sharing and bed sharing. So room sharing would be, baby or child is in parent's room, but in their own sleep environment,
okay.
So whether it be in a crib in a room or they have a, mattress on the floor in the room. Bed sharing obviously is when baby or child is in bed. So as a sleep professional, and you're right, family beds are definitely on the rise. Mm-hmm. As a sleep professional, I always have to talk about the importance of safe sleep. I follow the safe sleep practices of the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Canadian Pediatric Society, which is always following the ABCs of safe sleep, which is having your child sleep alone, on their back, and in their crib. Now, room sharing, we work with a lot of families who continue to room sharing, and that's fine, provided baby's in that safe sleep environment. So we, at Goodnight Sleep Site, we can't support bed sharing because it's not the safest place for baby to sleep. Yeah. I always say, listen, if what you're doing works for you as a family and you are all able to get healthy sleep and you're able to thrive as a healthy, well-rested family unit, who am I to tell you to change that? But if it's now coming to the point where you are doing that, and a lot of families are doing more of a reactive bed sharing, whereas just come into bed so I can get that extra hour. Toddlers or your older child is kind of coming into your room and you're just kind of swooping them into bed just so everyone can sleep. So it's not really a choice, it's just what's happening. And that's when we're seeing, sleep-deprived parents, sleep-deprived kids, and that's when we might need to make some changes.
Perfect. So, Alana, we have some questions. We've received them on social media, both at my Instagram account and Lisa.Durante, and as well as on our social media sites on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for @ParentsCanada. And so we would love for you to stick around till after the break so that you can maybe answer a few of those.
I would love to.
Oh, that would be great. And so you are listening to Parents Canada Talk Radio on Saga 960. And we will be right back with Alana to answer a few of your questions. And welcome back to Parents Canada Talk Radio on Saga 960. So we are with Alana McGinn. And Alana, thank you so much for all the information. Jason and I were scribbling on our notepads in the last segment, trying to catch all of your tips so that we can take them back for ourselves and for our families. But like I said before the break, we received quite a few questions. It was amazing. I posted an Instagram story yesterday afternoon, and, they just kind of came flooding in, which is amazing. But it also tells us that so many parents are really, have questions or challenges with sleep. So we'd love to get into a few of them with you. One of them we actually did respond to in the last segment. A mom had said that, she has 3 kids and she's constantly waking up every 3 to 4 hours. So that breathing technique, I'll make sure that I re-DM her on my Instagram, which is @Lisa.Durante, and just give her that tip if she didn't listen in today. So the first question comes from a mom of an 8-month-old. And she says that her baby has been a great sleeper, but now that it's summer, it's so much brighter in the room, and it's taking him a really long time to wind down at night. And so she's just wondering for some ideas on how to get him back on track.
Yeah, and this time of year, we love it because it's nice and warm out and the summer is around, but it's really important, like I said, to set up that environment for sleep. So really darkening up the room, and you can go out and you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can buy really affordable blackout panels. I've had clients tape up garbage bags or Bristol board, like whatever you really need to do to make that room nice and dark, both in the morning and even for naps. And at bedtime as well. And if you're finding that your child seems really wound up at bedtime, chances are what could be happening is bedtime perhaps is getting too late. And what tends to happen is that's when our kids get overtired. And we tend to think overtired kids are, falling asleep and are really groggy. But what actually happens is they get their second wind. It's like us, right? When you're 7 o'clock at night, you're dead to the world, but you don't go to bed. And then 10 o'clock at night, you're wide awake. And that's, your body's getting that surge of adrenaline and cortisol, and the same happens to our kiddo. So perhaps bedtime needs to be a little bit earlier. I don't know what time baby's going to bed at right now, but if you're looking at 8 months of age, you're maybe looking at a 6:30 bedtime. So moving that bedtime up and making sure that the sleep environment is conducive to sleep.
Okay, that's great.
My 8-year-old last week, she'd been out in the sun all day. You could tell she was exhausted and that sort of stuff. And of course, the conversation is, "You look tired." Really, this is probably a terrible thing to say to an 8-year-old because you immediately have just given yourself permission to have a battle royale over "I'm not tired." So, and then of course,
my twins are 8, so I get the same battle with my kids as well.
Oh wow! Do they sleep the same way? Your twins? Like, do they?
All my kids are good sleep. I think it would be weird if my kids weren't good sleepers. So they are pretty good. But my eldest is 11 and my twins are 8, so they're fighting me for that later bedtime. But I always say, no, mom's card punches at 9. Like, I'm done at 9, so that means everyone's in bed by then for sure.
Yeah.
I love that idea. Do you recommend giving scotch to the kids to get them to sleep? No. Don't give scotch to the kids.
Maybe scotch to yourself after the kids
There you go. We had a couple more great questions. Second one for a 3.5-year-old, mom of a 3.5-year-old son, says, "My son was just moved to a big boy bed." Isn't that a great phrase, big boy bed? I love that phrase. Just last fall, but he can't seem to fall asleep on his own. He really didn't have a problem before. How can we get him to fall asleep alone so we don't have to stay with him every night?
Right. So that transition from crib to bed can sometimes be a little tricky. One quick tip that I'll give before I get into it is if you are thinking about making that transition and you are experiencing any sleep issues, work on the sleep issues first before making the transition to bed. A lot of times we think getting them into a bed will fix everything, and it doesn't. So to keep that in mind. Again, focusing with our toddlers, the fundamentals are the same. The tools that I went over before, consistent routine and conducive sleep environment and earlier bedtimes, all of that applies with our toddlers just like it does with our babies. The difference now when we're getting into toddlerhood is setting those limits, right? And that can be hard. I get it. I had 3 toddlers at one time, and it can be a slippery slope. So taking that control back doesn't have to be in a yelly way, but just making sure that they're aware that there is that consistent bedtime routine, making sure they're going through that age-appropriate bedtime, and then set the method in place so that if you're not wanting to fall asleep with baby, what kind of method can you use? And there's different methods that you can do. Sit down with your partner, make sure that you're choosing a method that you guys can support each other on because you really need to work as that team. And whether that be a silent return, leading your child back to their room, whether that be putting up a gate at their door, whether that be shutting their door and having consequences, there's different methods that you can use, but being really consistent with whatever method that you do choose.
So picking the one and kind of going with it.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another question that came in from a mom. She says she's newly divorced, and it's about her 2 kids and getting them to sleep. And so I guess this is another transition question. So she says, when my girls are dropped off at home after a night or weekend with their dad, they seem to be just wound up and they can't settle down. And so getting them to bed on time, it's not happening for her. She's saying that it's a new situation. So what can she do to calm them down and get them ready for sleep so that they can have a good night's sleep for the next day?
Yeah, and that's a big transition. Whenever our kids go through any kind of major transition like that, like a separation or divorce or starting a new school or, mom and dad are changing jobs, they're feeling our stress, that can definitely play a role in how they're sleeping. So likely when they come home, they're super excited to see mom and they're wound up. So making sure that mom is really giving them that really calming, attachment-filled bedtime routine, but really focusing on that age-appropriate bedtime routine. I can't remember their age.
They're under 9, she says.
9?
Under 9, yeah.
Under 9, yeah. So you're probably looking at maybe, an 8:30 bedtime. But also being said is making sure that they're following consistent sleep patterns at both homes, consistent bedtime routines. It doesn't have to be 100% consistent, but making sure that even though they're in separate homes, having that, a same kind of sleep plan. I know sometimes it could be easier said than done, but making sure there's open communication between both parents and so that the kids are following the same kind of sleep rules at both home. It's going to help make that transition when they're going back and forth a lot easier for them.
I think I've fallen down on that one, actually. My 13-year-old, who happens to be listening right now, her mom and I, we didn't actually have that discussion. And over time, there was a gap. There was a gap between, how she was sleeping and, kind of rules-based permissions and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they feel it too, and you have to keep them updated on the schedule. So, like I said, they feel our stress, even though we might not realize us doing it because maybe we're not having those conversations when they're in the room or anything like that. Our kids are smart; they understand what's going on. So, just keeping them updated with, okay, these are the sleep rules, and you don't have to have the meeting together with both partners, with both parents, but these are going to be the sleep rules at Dad's house. These are going to be the sleep rules at Mom's house, and so that they know what they need to follow in each separate home.
Elena, you didn't just come by this by being a mom. You have some excellent resources, from the Good Night Sleep site to the Cleanse to the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about all of this incredible, I'm going to call this, brand around sleeping?
Yeah, so I started Good Night Sleep site when I had my first daughter. I was that first parent who, just like any first parent that's listening to this, knew nothing about sleep. And, my industry wasn't really around back then. This is 12 years ago. And just put a plan together for my daughter and then started helping my friends. And by the time I was pregnant with the twins, I was able to get certified. And in the past, so Good Night Sleep site has been, for the past 9 years, running Good Night Sleep site. And in the past 5 years, we've grown our team. So we have over 20 consultants in Canada and the U.S. This Girl Loves Sleep, my podcast, is going to be celebrating its year in August.
Oh, congratulations.
We have lots of new programs. We actually have a tween and teen program that's coming out mid-August because we're seeing so many inquiries from that age group that are struggling with sleep. So that's a new program we'll be offering. And a baby sleep book coming out in October. So lots of fun stuff.
Yeah. And where could we, catch up on you if we want to keep following you and learn more from you?
Yeah, thank you. So you can follow our website at goodnightsleepsite.com, and there's a lot of great free sleep resources there as well, and you can find out more about working with one of our consultants. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at GNSleepsite, and you can download our podcast anywhere where you can download podcast, This Girl Loves Sleep. Yeah.
Elena, you know what? I want to ask you one more question, because when you have an expertise in kind of this area, there's always stuff that we don't know to ask. So what is something that we haven't asked or people don't ask you frequently that they should be asking about sleep?
I think it's just really important to understand sleep needs. Often we take, and even for our kids and adults, we tend to take sleep for granted because we all sleep. When we look at the 3 pillars of health, nutrition, exercise, and sleep, we know when we're not eating well, we know when we're not working out, but we all sleep. But are we sleeping well? Are we getting the quality of sleep? And with our kids as well, are we getting the right quantity of sleep? So understanding the sleep needs for your child, your baby, yourself as an adult, your tween and teens, that's going to help you put the right sleep plan in place. And get healthy sleep for everybody.
Do you find that, some parents aren't giving kind of the gravitas to sleep that they should be?
Yeah, I think we wear sleep deprivation as a badge of honor, in all honesty, and our kids see it. So if we're not kind of protecting our sleep, then, how can we kind of expect our kids, especially our older kids, to do the same? So making sure as a family unit, you're working on healthy sleep and tech. I know we didn't really talk a lot about tech, but get tech out of the bedrooms. It's finding its way into too many bedrooms, and in my opinion, that is probably the number one sleep buster in our society and why we are such a sleep-deprived society.
Oh.
Sleep buster. Well, I know you have some opinions on this about having tech in the bedroom.
Oh yeah, tech is just not allowed in bedrooms in my home. No screen, no television, no screens can be in bedrooms. That's just one of the.
Now, just out of curiosity, do you have your phone? Do you keep your phone under the bedroom as well?
It's the recharger's in the closet, which is quite a ways away.
Oh, that's a very clever idea. It's kind of like a little incentive program.
We recommend a family docking station. So create a docking station in your home. Have everyone that's outside of a bedroom or in a closet. I love that idea, Lisa. And just where it's not on your night table, and it's not easy to access. I can't tell you how many kids I'm seeing with computers and games and phones in their bedroom, and it's cutting into their sleep.
So my daughter who's listening, who got a brand new laptop on Monday for graduation, we're going to be having a little chat when we get home. It's going to be great. It's going to be a good time. We're going to get you. Listen, she really loves her sleep as well. So I think 2 things. I'm going to do the blackout blinds, and then we're going to talk about the devices in the bedroom.
Perfect.
Elena, I cannot thank you so much. This is, you know what? This is everything I was hoping it would be, right? This is great comments, great insight, and that sort of stuff. So thank you so much for joining us. You gave us all your Instagram handles and all that sort of stuff. And I wish you incredible success again. 3 kids under the age of 11. You really are a superhero. I'd like to know what color your cape is.
I have a great partner that helps out too. So it's not just me. But thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thank you so much. For everyone else, we want to continue the conversation. If you've got questions coming up today or in future episodes, we're at 416-640-0200. We're on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Almost forgot about Facebook. Who could forget about Facebook? At Parents Canada. We're at parentscanada.com. We're going to come back after the break to wrap. For now, you're listening to Parents Canada Talk Radio and News Talk Saga 960. Welcome back to Parents Canada Talk Radio here on News Talk Saga 960. I'm Jason Thompson. I'm here with
Lisa Durante.
We just spent the break talking about naps.
It was amazing talking with Alana. She was so insightful. She has such amazing insights, and she really knew her stuff. It was great.
I love when we have guests like that because they make us look like geniuses.
Yeah, she made the conversation so easy. So thanks.
What'd you learn from her?
Alana.
What'd you learn?
Oh, so many things. So sleep begets sleep. I think I'm going to make a poster of that. Yeah, because, one of the things, just even now with my kids who are 9 and 7, anytime I'm at a relative's house and, I will say that we've got to go because the kids have to get to bed, we're constantly told it's okay, they can sleep in tomorrow. And they never sleep in. If they actually go to bed later, they will wake up earlier, and then the day is really bad. So if they get to bed on time, they'll sleep the amount that they need to sleep, and then the next day is just easier for everyone. How about you? What did you...
The first thing that was about that idea of anxiety, because I have so many friends and family, and even the kids, right? They really do kind of struggle. I watch it considerably in the daytime, and watching how it affects the sleep patterns. And as she was talking, I actually remembered something about when I was a teenager. So when I was a teenager was the first Gulf War, early 90s. And I remember that I was staying up and watching CNN every night because it was a fascinating experience. But at the end of the war, which ran a couple of months, I couldn't sleep. I could not figure out how to get back to sleep. So I had basically created insomnia for myself. And somebody gave me this tip. I've never heard this tip before. This is just literally an anecdotal tip, but it works to this day for me, which is if your mind's going to run, what you need to do is you need to give it something specific to run about, meaning don't worry about the day's worries. Invent something. They said, come up with this fantastical idea, something that you couldn't possibly do in real life, and follow that path. And so I said, well, what does that look like? So we talked for a little while, and then the light bulb went on for me. And so every night for a couple months, because it took a couple of months to really get it, but once I got it, it worked like a charm. I was a goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I would go and I would literally, you think about every second. You're in the dressing room, you're lacing up your skates, you're putting on your pads, all that sort of stuff. Every single night. And you'd get a little further, like into the game. So it took me 2 years to play an entire game. We won, of course. We won the Stanley Cup. Come on, are you kidding me? But that thing, what it did was it shut out the day. It made it impossible to think about all of the other things because you're so focused on the little teeny tiny details that eventually get absorbed into it and helps you fall asleep. I know it sounds bizarre, but it works. And I've taught my kids this same structure that if they are kind of getting leaned on for the day, they've got EQAO coming up, whatever it is that's causing stress for them. This is one way that they can get to sleep. Because again, one of the main rules in my house is we have to get enough sleep. And that's kind of the way that I was able to do that.
Yeah. And Alana talked about that anxiety and, taking that time to write out your thoughts if you're not that creative and you can't come up with that story, that new story, that fantasy, I guess it is, winning the Stanley Cup.
I know it's bizarre, but it works.
But also what I liked is the breathing technique. I quite enjoy yoga quite a bit, and we do every session that I go to, there's time spent breathing. And every time I walk into that studio, I am an anxious mess, usually. I'm usually rushing. That's just life for me. My father says that I'm always running. And so just taking that time to breathe really does relax me. So that's something that I'm just going to take away and try it myself at night. And the last thing that I thought was an important message, especially for new parents, where there's so much pressure to get baby to sleep through the night. And she gave a little bit more of a definition of what that is. But then she also kind of gave us permission that we don't have to put that pressure on those new parents, that in the 4th trimester, you're just going to lose out on sleep, accept it. And then when baby's ready at that 5-6 month time, then you can start bringing in those routines and getting more of the routine around sleep and get them to sleep longer.
I mentioned to you on Monday when we were chatting that 150 years ago, we didn't sleep through the night. This is actually a semi-recent construct. The idea was we would go and we would go to sleep, I think it was like around 9. You'd wake up at 1 and you'd go do stuff for a couple of hours and then come back and sleep again, which seems absolutely foreign. Absolutely.
I'm glad that we learned to put ourselves back to sleep. That's what I would not function.
Awesome. Well, this has been another extraordinary episode of Parents Canada Talk Radio. Why don't you bring us home?
Yeah. So we will be back next week. And Jason, what's the topic next week? Is it?
I think we are talking about parental leave next week.
Yes.
You're going to do some coaching.
Oh, yes. I'm going to do some live coaching. That's going to be awesome. So tune in next week and you'll hear us. And you are listening to Parents Canada Talk Radio on Saga 960. You can find more great tips and insights at parentscanada.com. And we should very soon be releasing a new website. So it'll be a whole new digital experience for you. So you're going to be able to find everything you want about sleep and every other topic around parenting. You can also carry on this conversation on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Parents Canada. So next time you'll catch us right here, Wednesdays at 11 a.m. You're listening to Lisa Durante
and Jason Thompson.
All right. We'll see you next week.